Everyone knows Sri Satgurudev Maharaj Ko Jai. Um, this is done in Baiji's, Mahatmaji's, and to all the Premis who've joined from Israel and from all around the world on today's Zoom Satsang session. Firstly, thank you so much for today's opportunity, allowing me to share some of my Satsang today. I have to admit, I've never been part of this platform before. I think mainly because of our time difference, but it's a very special opportunity for me today. And thank you so much once again to the organizing team and Manadharm Israel. When I was first approached about giving satsang today, I was sitting in our own weekly satsang for Australia. Where we have our weekly satsangs every Sunday afternoons with Angara Baiji. And the first thought that came into my mind, I immediately thought of a story about a satsang that Baiji was given me earlier this year or sometime last year, where she was talking about the essence of abhyas, the essence of practice. And we've like always heard that practice makes perfect, but Baiji had taken it one step further, and she was explaining to me why practice is necessary. And she was giving us a story from our scriptures. I'm sure you've all heard this story, but the story goes that it's always in ancient times, when it's a time where the devotees and the farmers are in current dispute with Indra, and Indra decides to punish all of the farmers, and he decides not to make it rain for a certain amount of time. So all the farmers are very distraught, and obviously they can't go ahead with their daily lives. They can't proceed with their farming every day. And it brings a lot of drought onto the earth, and it brings famine. And so Lord Indra says at that point, I would definitely grant rain one day, only if Lord Shiva continues to play his drums. And so obviously some time passes, and Lord Shiva doesn't know what's happening, with the whole situation. And Lord Shiva comes down onto earth one day, just very casually, and he like walks around the town, and he slowly realizes, what's happening with the world, that there's current drought, there's current famine. And so he goes through these towns, and he sees, everyone's pretty much given up. Everyone's at home. All the farmers have decided not to go ahead with their farming. And, it seems like a little lockdown as well. And, Lord Shiva finally makes his way down to like the farming areas, and he sees one singular farmer standing at the farms. And, Lord Shiva is very curious to find out why this farmer is still there. Why is he still continuing with his farming routine? Why is he continuing to plow? Why is he continuing to plant seeds? So Lord Shiva disguises himself, and he very simply approaches this farmer, and he asks him, why do you continue to do this? You know that there's no chance of rain, there's no chance of forecast, and all of your plants that you put in today, it probably will fail tomorrow. And so the farmer obviously doesn't realize it's Lord Shiva, and he just simply responds, I'm not doing anything that I'm doing today for any sort of accomplishment, any sort of recognition. I'm simply here just to continue with my daily activities, so that when the time does come, I don't forget how to do my daily activities. And at this instant moment, Lord Shiva reveals himself, to this farmer, and he plays his drums, and Lord Indra is forced to make it rain, and all of the devotees and all the farmers rejoice once it does rain. And at the same point, I think Lord Shiva himself understands that if he continues with the punishment and he doesn't play drums as well, he himself might forget how to play the drums as well. So I think it's a moment of realization where he kind of also understands the essence of abhyas and why practice is so important. And I think if you like observe this story a bit more deeply, it does kind of represent how our world is at the moment. We are living in a current state of uncertainty. We don't know how tomorrow will look like, how next week will look like. We don't know how 2022 will look like. Will it be the same as 2021? Or will it be the same as our life before the whole lockdown, the whole coronavirus? I think throughout this whole time as well, as just as human beings as well, we are also missing social interactions. We can't go out and freely meet our friends and our family. In Sydney, especially, we can't. We are currently in lockdown, so we can't even go to our ashram. But that's me personally. I'm sure for all the premies around the world, it was quite saddening that they none of us could celebrate Maharaj's 70th birthday in India, especially. So so obviously all of us have been affected one way or the other in this current state of the world. But I think as Premies, it is important to understand how we can practice our own abhyas towards our own spiritual journeys at this present time. And also as Premies, we are also constantly reminded, if not by our own family, by fellow Premies or by Bajis, through bhajans and through satsang, that everything that we have learned, like हमने जति पनि ज्ञान पाएको छ, like all the knowledge and all the gyan that we have received from our Guru Maharaji can simply be understood very clearly and implemented very clearly through satsang, sumiran, and seva. And I think it's very important to note that maybe before coronavirus happened, I think my own interpretation of how to perform, satsang, sumiran, and seva might have been different to a different youth member from Israel or from India or from the UK or from the US. But I think at the moment, with the whole current state of the world, we have all gone about dealing with these three very simple acts of abhyas in the same way. Obviously, looking at all the positives, as Suyugdai was also mentioning earlier today, we are currently in an abundance of satsang. Satsang is happening if literally daily. If you enjoy satsang in Hindi or in English, there are many avenues. If you enjoy satsang in Nepali, I think literally every almost six out of 7 days a week you are blessed with satsang. So all of us connecting together has been one form of practice, and it's been very nice to see that that we are all connecting with Premies that we might never have connected with before, as well as Suyugdai also mentioned. Like me connecting with you guys today from Manatharam, Israel, is a huge honor for me, because it's something that might not have been possible maybe before lockdown or before coronavirus hit. So obviously satsang is readily available, either listening or giving as well. There will always be an opportunity as long as this lockdown is happening, if it's via Zoom, if it's via Blue Jeans, with our own Sumiran as well. I'm not too sure about the scenario in Israel, but in Australia, I think 60 to 75% of all industries are currently working from home. And I think it's given everyone an extra 3 to 4 hours every day just to sit, or just to try to sit as well in meditation. If you are consciously sitting in meditation, or even unconsciously, breathing in and taking the secret name as well. I think it's given us a lot of time to reflect, and I think it's also given a lot of time to some people who might not even be Premies to kind of reflect on their actions from the last couple of years. And that is also a form of sumiran as well. It doesn't just have to be Namko sumiran as well. It can also be just understanding your own self and your own actions. So obviously satsang is happening, sumiran is happening, and I think the biggest driving force of abhyas for much of the youth members from Australia is also seva. And at the moment, obviously we can't go out, we can't do much physical seva. So I think our own current interpretation of seva has been changed a little bit. But I think just last week during Maharaji's birthday program from Nepal, Jameli Baiji had also given a very good explanation and very nice satsang about seva being distinguished into 3 very simple nodes as well. Seva can be defined as tanko, manko, ya tanko, which very simply translates into the mind, the body, and the wealth state. Obviously, tanko seva, if you do ever have that chance, obviously before COVID, physically you would go to the ashram, you would spend some time with Baiji, you would clean your local ashrams, and you would take Baiji outside shopping. This is for us in Sydney actually, but I'm sure it's relevant in many other places as well. But during these times of physical seva, you would obviously forget all of your own physical and mental pressures. You wouldn't feel any pain, and you would feel so tireless. You could go for days. For our programs in Sydney as well, if we ever had programs where we invited Premies from other states like Melbourne, Victoria, Tasmania, Hobart, we would have these like 2-day, 3-day programs, and literally with these 2 to 3 days, they would just fly, and you wouldn't realize how these days went so quickly. You didn't sleep at all. You were just in constant seva, but it didn't make a difference. So obviously the physical seva is definitely it's very accessible for all of us. When you are in constant in constant touch with your local ashram, and if you are in current programs, obviously that's not the case at the moment. So that's Dhanka Seva. Obviously, Manka Seva is when you concentrate all your mental energy into your Sumrian, into your Seva, into your Satsang as well. And Jamali Baiji had explained that Manka Seva, I'm like translating this in English, so it might sound a little off, but she was mentioning that when you do perform Manka Seva, it is like grinding the sandalwood to like make the paste, which we use as tika as well. And when you grind them, you like grind your own self, and you grind out all these negativity from yourself, be it in the form of arrogance, in the form of ego, the form of jealousy, in the form of greed. You just grind yourself out when you concentrate your whole mental energy towards the Namka Sumriyan, or just like doing the right thing as well. And obviously, finally, Dhanka Seva is, the seva of the financial state, which is obviously donating or offering a portion of your own income to the running of your local ashrams or our whole organization as a whole. So I think during this time, for myself especially, and from the perspective of the youth members from Sydney, Australia, I think we have been talking about how we can continue with our practice. We have been obviously staying connected with our weekly satsangs from Australia. If like some of our premiers speak Hindi, they've been joining with the Hindi satsangs. If Nepali, with the Nepali satsangs, and if English, we've just been talking to each other. So with our Abhyas, it definitely hasn't stopped. And I think with our seva as well, I think over the last couple of years, we like realized that we had a much bigger youth presence in Sydney itself, but like obviously all around Australia, but Sydney being like our center point and the location of our ashram, we had the most number of premiers in Sydney. So for the last couple of years, since 2018, 2019, we had started our own youth group as well. And I think I'm just understanding everyone's own perspective. I could see that, there were some youth premiers who were very interested in bhajans. There were some youth premiers who were very interested, in giving speeches. Others were just very excited to cook for programs. Others were just excited to spend time with our Baiji. But I think the one thing that really brought us all together was this need to perform seva. Those like, everyone had this like mentality of, bringing about some sort of social change, or, spreading the word of Manadharam, some sort of prachara as well. Obviously we like had a couple of sessions in 2018, 2019, where we tried to understand how the youth would want to get more connected to the seva. Obviously, at the moment, we do have our ashram, which was beautifully brought up and developed by all of our elders. So I feel like the youth had this like notion within ourselves where we also wanted to prove ourselves a little bit. If our elders have done so well, why not we try something as well? So we were going through many different avenues, trying to find that, if this activity would work, or if that activity would work. And we came up with this beautiful seva, which we noted as the bottle collection seva. So in Australia, pretty much we have this government-run facility where you can go to these local stores and you can donate bottles that are made of aluminium, glass, plastic, and you can receive a 10-cent refund for each bottle you give in. So we took this seva very simply, where we decided just to collect as many bottles as we could, and at the end of the year we would collect how many vouchers we got, how many refunds we received, and we would donate it to Manadharam, Uttan Seva Samiti or Mission Education at the end of the year. And at 2019, we had collected like 20,000 bottles, which is about $2,000 Australian. And we were so excited, we were so happy, we were so energized. And in 2020 last year, we like decided to take this step further, but we got all the uncles, all the aunties involved. We would ask everyone to like get involved collecting. We would go to local parks, we would try to collect as many bottles. And it got to a state where our own Baiji got so involved with the program where Baiji would go to morning walks in the morning, and she would come back with bottles. If you saw Baiji driving to Satsang, she would stop, whoever was driving her, she'd be like, stop, let's go outside, and she would collect the bottles if she saw someone on the street as well. So yeah, that was probably our main like seva activity that that we tried to install for our youth team in the last 2 years. Obviously, 2021 came around, and we couldn't continue with the server opportunity, mainly because we didn't want everyone touching these random bottles. You know, the spread of corona couldn't happen still. So this year, like, our youth took it upon themselves to get involved virtually, and many of our youth have been involved with the virtual programs, with the running of Zoom sessions from Nepal, from Australia, and we've also taken it a server to teach some of our elder uncles and aunties how to use Zoom, how to use Blue Jeans. So it's been a very special time as well for all of us, and I think we are so fortunate that during this time as well, we can still connect with each other. We can still share our experiences, and I think just like in the end of that story, towards the end of coronavirus as well, we will definitely have a very positive ending. And I think just like similar to that story as well, how the farmer never stopped planting his seeds. I also feel like that is a metaphor for our Maharaji as well, who has been planting his seeds all around the world, well before this whole corona pandemic started. And I think it's so beautiful to see now that his plants are growing now, and they have shown themselves, they've shown their talents. If it's from Israel, if it's from Australia, if it's from India, if it's from the UK, it's from the US. It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful to see that everything is coming about as we speak now. So obviously, toward that end of that story, there was a positive ending, and I just want to wrap up today by saying as well, like, I don't usually remember much of our Hindu scriptures so well, but there was this one saying that's always stuck with me, and it goes like, Guru Govind dono kare jisko lago paye, balihari jo devi ki jo Govind hame bataye. So it pretty much states that if I'm ever in the situation where I'm standing between the God Almighty and my own Guru Maharaji, I will always prostrate and salute to my Guru Maharaji first, because it was only through his grace and his understanding that I was able to understand the Almighty above. And I think that goes to say with our own abhyas and our own practice in our own spiritual journeys, that if we do continue to have faith in Guru Maharaji, in his teachings and his grace, will definitely be upon us, and we will definitely succeed in our own spiritual journeys and continue to connect and understand the divine above us. So once again, I think I will end here. I just want to say thank you so much to Manazam Israel for giving me this opportunity today. And I hope to see you all very soon. Thank you so much. Prem Libhanu Sri Satguru Dev Maharaj Ko Jai.